In this video, we're going to have a look at a basic implementation of GSAP into Oxygen Builder. And basically, if you want to know what GSAP is, it's a robust JavaScript toolset that turns developers into animation superheroes. We obsess about performance, compatibility, and support so that you don't have to. It's really lightweight and works really well on both desktop and mobile platforms. And the kind of animation that we're going to have a look at doing is basically animating content on scroll. And you can see that as I scroll, the content then moves in onto the screen. So we're going to have a look at implementing that. So if you want to know where to get started, well, the first place that we're going to go to is the docs. And on the docs page, you'll see that they have this nice getting started overview. There's also a link to this GSAP 3 cheat sheet, which is also very useful. And the reason why we like this page is we're going to do an implementation by linking in the CDN file to the website. And you'll see here that the CDN links are already configured for us. And if we click on one of these links, and we'll be interested in the main GSAP and then also the ScrollTrigger libraries. So if I click on CDN, you'll see it copies it to the clipboard immediately. So that's great. That's what we're going to use this page for. So I'm going to leave this page here as it is. The next page that we're going to have a look at is going to be the ScrollTrigger. So I'm going to open that in a new tab. And you'll see that on the ScrollTrigger, as we scroll down, you can see that the content elements animate. Now, we're not going to look at the animation in these blocks, but we're just going to have a look at the animation that scrolls the content into view. And to then get an idea of what we need to do, the quickest way is to head down here to examples and look for an example similar to what we want to achieve. And you'll see here that there is quite a lot in terms of what you can do. And if you scroll over each item here, it'll give you a brief animation of how that all fits together. And the one that we're going to look at is going to be this one here, which is different animation based on scroll direction. And I'm going to click on that, have that open, and you'll see that that opens up here in this window. And as I scroll, the content is animated. And it's just a really basic animation. Right, so we're going to have a look at implementing this. And the reason why we're going to start here is because we have all our JavaScript set out for us, and we're going to use this JavaScript as it is. And we also have the basic styles, so we'll use these styles as is. And then over here, it just shows you how to implement into your content. Now, we're going to just stick to these two areas. To set up the website, I'm going to apply these to this About Us page. So we have some standard content brought in through Oxygen in the default theme, and we're going to have a look at animating the elements on this page. A couple of things that we need to do to get set up. So let's just go and have a look at the plugins. Now, there's no plugin for GSAP. So what I've done in order to implement GSAP, we're going to be using a plugin called My Custom Functionality. And that will basically make it easier to register and enqueue the scripts that we're going to use on the website. And the other plugin that I've included on here is going to be this file manager, or you can use your FTP connection. And that is because we also just need to add the JavaScript that we saw over here on this example, and we're going to add that to a file within a folder in the My Custom Functionality. So right, let's get started. So the first thing that we want to do is register and enqueue the JavaScript. So you'll see here I'm on the plugins page. I'm going to go down here to the plugin file editor. And then in the top right hand side here, I'm going to look for My Custom Functionality, and we'll select that. Now, My Custom Functionality is a custom plugin which is found on GitHub. So My Custom Functionality, if you're looking for the plugin, one of the easiest ways to find it is just to, in Google, type in My Custom Functionality and then plugin, hit enter, and you'll see it's probably going to be the very first hit. Just click on that, and it'll take you through to my plugin. What you then do is click on code, download the zip file, and then upload and install into WordPress as normal. Right, once it's installed, you can then navigate to it as we have, and then you can edit that file. So here I am in the plugin, and you'll see that everything that we need to enqueue or to register is here in the plugin already. And you'll also see that it also has some conditions that we can set if we only want to use these JavaScript libraries, perhaps on the pages that have the animation, but we'll make it site-wide for this demo. Right, so let's get started. Now you'll remember that on the GreenSock docs, when I scroll down, you'll remember that the CDN links are already configured for us. Here, if I click on the button, so if I click on this button, it's copied that CDN link to my clipboard. I can then go into this plugin, and what I'm going to do is enqueue that script. And as we're using it to link to the CDN, we're not going to be doing it through a file or a folder in the website. You can, of course, download and serve it locally. And so what I'm going to do is just take all that out, and then between single inverted commas, paste in that CDN link. So there we have enqueued the script for GSAP. So let's call that GSAP JS. And the second one that we needed to enqueue was, as you'll remember, was the one for the scrolling to the content. So I'll just copy and paste that again. I'm going to head back here to the docs. I'm going to look for the scroll trigger, copy that CDN, head over, and then just replace that with the scroll CDN. Right, so that has been implemented, and that is fine. The other thing that I'm going to do, what I found is sometimes we need to register the script as well as enqueue it. So what I'm going to do now is just change this enqueue script to register. Right. And then we're going to enqueue the script, and I'm just going to copy that. And I'll just paste it in below here. And then we just copy enqueue script, and we'll just paste that in there. So there we've enqueued GSAP JS, and then here we've got the scroll trigger. So just to keep everything together, I'll just copy and paste that name in there like that. And then what we'll do is, maybe the easiest way, just copy that, paste that in there, copy that. Right, so there we've registered the scripts and enqueued the scripts, and then I'm going to update the file. Right, so that's been done. Now what I'm going to do is head over to Oxygen Builder. So here we are on Oxygen Builder, Oxygen, and we're going to edit with Oxygen, and then we're going to add some animations to the page. And in the meantime, while Oxygen is loading, I'm going to head back here to the documentation, or sorry, to the ScrollTrigger demos. And you'll remember that we selected this one, which opened up in the code pen. And you'll see that I have the JavaScript here and I have the styles here, and we're going to add those then to Oxygen Builder. So this is now loaded. Right, so I'm going to head over here to my style sheet. I'm going to add a style sheet, and I'm just going to call it GSAP animation. Okay, so there we have that file, and I'm going to head back here then and just copy. I don't need to copy the body, but I will copy the rest of the CSS, and then I'm going to go back to Oxygen and just paste that in and save. So there we've added those elements. Now what I'm going to do is go back to the page. So let's head back, and what I'm going to do before, there are two steps to this. The first thing that I'm going to do is add the JavaScript to the page using the adding a code element, the code block. And then the second step then is to move that code block into a separate file so that I can then apply it to all the pages on the website. So I'm just going to roll it out here to get the settings right. And once I'm happy with the settings, I'll create a separate file. And the reason for that is that it's just a lot easier to work inside Oxygen to do that. And then I've added the code block at the bottom here, and I'm going to head over to JavaScript. So we have the JavaScript, and then I'm just going to copy the JavaScript here exactly as it is and paste that into Oxygen, and then we'll apply the code. Everything looks fine, and then we'll save. So there we've added the JavaScript to make it work. We've added the CSS, and we've enqueued the scripts. Now we want to get this working. So just some clues. So the first thing that I can show you then is inside the CSS, you'll see that we have various classes. And basically the one that we're going to have a look at then applying is this GS_reveal is the one class. And then the other classes that we're really going to be working with is this going to be reveal from left, reveal from right. So let me show you how that works. So as I said, the first one that we're going to look at, let's just close that. The first one we're going to have a look at over here is going to be this GS reveal. So I'll show you how we make that happen. So let's go to the About Us first of all, and we'll add a class. So that class was GS reveal. So we'll add that class, and immediately then you'll see that the content element is no longer visible, and that's because it needs to be brought into the screen. The second thing that we're going to look at then, if I go to my code block in JavaScript, is let's reveal from the left. And I'm then going to go back to that heading, which of course we don't see at the moment, and I'm going to add the class GS reveal from left. And the nice thing, because it has the GS prefix, we just type in GS, and it'll just bring up anything that's linked then to the animation GS for GSAP. Right, so we've added that to the website. Let's save. And then let's go and preview that. And you'll immediately see that the text scrolls in. If you think, well, that's not enough of a scroll or enough movement, and this is why we work with the code block, I'm going to go back to my JavaScript, and you'll see that when we say reveal from left, it's pulling it in here from negative 100 pixels. So if you want to make that a lot more, you could make that minus 500. Head over to the website, refresh, and you'll see that it comes in from a lot further away. Right, so if I then scroll to the top, you'll see that it scrolls in nicely. Similarly, if we wanted to do something from the right, so now we want to add this GS reveal from right. I'm going to head over to this text at the top, and I'm going to have this coming from the right hand side. So first thing we're going to do then is add the GS reveal, and the second one that we must add then is this GS reveal from right, and we'll add that class and we'll save. And now when we head over to the website and refresh, you'll see that we have the content coming in from the left and the right. From the right, it was only 100 pixels, so maybe we'll give it the same treatment that we did. So from left was negative 500, and then from the right we can now make that 500 as well. So when the page loads, or when this scrolls into view, we have a nice animation. So that's great. What you'll notice here on the right hand side is we have these markers here, these start and end markers, and we don't want those on the page. So to remove them, we just head over here to our JavaScript, and you'll see that it's set here to marker is set to true, and we can literally just comment that out, save, head over to the website, refresh, and you'll see that those markers are no longer visible. So this is great. Now the content coming in from the left and right is probably going to work better on, say, content with the 3 columns. So let's head over here to this content, and I'm going to select this whole column to come in from the left-hand side. So we'll show the sidebar. We'll just add the two classes. So we just go reveal and GS, and we're going to reveal from left. And then this element on the right-hand side, I'm going to do the GS reveal and then the GS reveal from right. So the content's going to come in from the left and the right. We'll save that, head over to the website. Let's refresh the page, and you'll see that as we scroll down, the content scrolls in nice and smoothly from the left or the right. If we look at that in the mobile view, and I've done nothing here, you'll see that scrolls in, we scroll down, and you'll see the scroll in from the left and the right. And if I scroll up, then we should see, yes, there's the scrolling effect and the scrolling effect. So that's great. So we have the left and the right, and that's super fantastic. But now we want to maybe do something slightly different. So at the top here, maybe what we want is we want the elements here, the about us from the top, and perhaps this text then from the bottom. So to do that, it's really quite easy. And we can go back to our code block, head over to our JavaScript, and you'll see here that we have this if statement. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to add two new ones. So the first one I'm going to add is from top, and the second one I'm going to add is going to be from bottom. Right, and that's it. Then what we must do, of course, is change these elements around. So we'll change the x-axis to 0, and we'll change the x-axis here to 100. And then we'll just copy GS reveal from top. And I'm going to go to my content element. And I'm going to go to that heading. And now I'm going to remove the from left. And I'm going to add that new one, which is the GS reveal from top. And I'm going to add that class. We'll save that. And now when I refresh, you'll see that the about us, you'll see it actually scrolled in from the bottom. And we want it to drop from the top. So then we know that if I go back to my code block and I want it to come in from the top, I need to make from the top negative value. So we'll make that negative 500. And then from bottom, I know that that now needs to be a positive 500. And I can now, I'm going to GS reveal from bottom. So I'm going to head over to my text now and change that from right. I'm going to remove that and just add in the GS reveal from bottom and add that class. We'll save, head over to the website, refresh, and now you'll see that the animation should be scrolling in from the top and the bottom. The about us there is really not looking good. Let's just have a look and see what we need to do there. So the top we had minus 500. Let's change that to 200. And we'll save that. Refresh. And there you see we have this nice animation. So in the header, it's really nice to have it top and bottom and with the columns from the left and the right. We can, of course, then also get a little bit more creative in terms of where that animates from. So let's have a look at doing something different on our annual growth. And once again, I'm going to head over here to my else if, and this time we're going to make it a diagonal. Now we know that if we want it to come in from the bottom, the y needs to be 500 because that's from the bottom. And then if we want it from the right, we know that we need to put in a positive value for the x. So I'm going to say from the bottom right, and what I'll do is I'm going to make both elements positive 500. So you can see you can make these classes here exactly what you want. And then I'm going to go to Let's have a look at annual growth. And what I'm going to do is make that then come in from the bottom right. So now what I'll do, first of all, we do the GS reveal because that hides the element. And the second one then is going to be the one we just created from the bottom right. We'll add that class, we'll save. Let's head back to our website, refresh. And when we scroll down, that's working. You'll see that that then moves in from the bottom right of the page. So you can pretty much have these coming in then from any position on the page by just changing the X and Y coordinates. So let's do something a little bit more interesting. So let's just go back to that heading and I'm going to remove it from the heading. And perhaps what we want to do, this graph is already in the bottom right hand corner. Now this chart graph is actually this image, and maybe the image would look better coming in from the bottom right. So for that one then, we'll just apply the reveal, and we say here from bottom right, save, refresh, and now when we scroll through the page, you'll see we have this nice animation at the top. The two elements come together, two elements scroll in, and here from the bottom right hand side. And then on mobile, yeah, so on mobile, those two elements look good. Those will scroll in, and there we go. So let's just, right, so there you see, you can control then the animation pretty much any way that you want, and you'll see it's a very smooth and a very nice animation. A couple of other things that we could also look at then while we having a look at the code is inside the code, you can also set the duration. So if 1.25 is too quick, you want to make that a little bit longer. Let's change that to, well, let's make that much longer. So we'll make that 5.25 and head over to the website and refresh. And you'll see now that the animation comes in a lot slower. So the normal animation is now a lot slower. So that's a little bit too slow. So the 1.25 actually nice, but you can change the time that it takes. Our X and Y's here are set to 0, auto alpha of 1, and then they're different ease values. So you'll be looking at this and thinking, okay, so what all can be done? And that's where when we head back to the docs, you'll see that there's this cheat sheet. And if I just open that in a new tab, we head over to the cheat sheet and you'll see there's a lot of nice quick and easy references. And if we go over to the scroll trigger, you can see that we have a whole lot of other options available to us that we can then implement, and things that you might want to have a look at when you're creating your animation. I'm not going to go into all of these, but they are commented on, and there is a lot more information in the docs. So if we then go to the scroll docs, so we head over here back to docs and we go to ScrollTrigger, and if you click on that, it'll open up and you'll see a whole lot of different options available, as well as some examples of code and the kind of different things that you can do. You could also add in some scaling, some rotation. Yeah, so there's a whole lot of different things that you could do in terms of the animation. So we're just looking at this basic implementation. So to get back to our website then, so we're here on our website and we've used our code block on this page, and we're quite happy with the way that it works. And now what we want to do is move it out of a code block on the page, and we want to move it into a file inside a plugin so that we can apply this to the whole website and we don't have to load this JavaScript every time in the code block. So to do that, we're just going to copy all our JavaScript here. So I'm going to copy and cut that, and then I'm going to delete the code block and save that. So now on the website, the style sheets apply, of course, because we added that to the style sheet, but there's no animation. So let me head over here then to that plugin, that My Custom functionality. You remember that we loaded that and we used that then to through this plugin file editor, and we used that to include the files. So if I go to My Custom functionality now, you'll see that it just allowed me to enqueue those CDN files. Problem though is that I want to add the code into a folder which I know exists within this plugin, but it's not showing here. And that's because there's no content in that folder. And for that reason, I've loaded up you'll see I added in this file manager plugin. So instead of me having to go through my FTP, I can quite easily then over here head through to the file manager and then go to WP content, go to my plugins. There's my my custom functionality master. That's what I'm looking for. And inside the assets now, you'll see that we can see that folder, and there's a folder for JS. And I'm just going to copy my JavaScript into that folder. The plugin's already been set up to access files within that folder. And to add a new file, then I can just right click here and click on new file. Now it's going to ask me for text, CSS, or HTML, nothing for JavaScript. So we'll just go with a plain text file and we'll change that .txt to JS. And then the name of the file, we'll just call that GSAP animation. And right, that's been saved. If I double click on that, then it'll download that file. If I want to edit the file, I can right click and edit, or look for this icon here, click on edit file, it'll open, nothing in it. I'm just pasting in exactly what I had inside of WordPress, and I'm going to save and close. Now what we need to do obviously then is enqueue that as we did with the CDN files. So what we'll do then is I'm just going to click here on rename. I'm going to copy that file name as is. Then I'm going to go back to my custom functionality here, and I'm then going to go to the plugin.php. I can either add it here, or if I if I go back to my plugin editor, so we go back to plugins, plugin file editor, and I go here now back to my custom functionality, select. You'll see now that the folder assets is visible, and there is that file that I just created. So I can either do edits here then. So on the plugin.php, I can either edit here, or I can edit here via the file manager. So I'm going to do it here because it's just laid out a lot nicer. And you'll see here's already an example of a file. And all that I need to do is change this example, add in my animation there. Let's go here to enqueue script, and I'm just going to copy the name of my file and right, so there, and update the file. Right, so now we've pretty much done everything we need to do. So let's go back to the website. So we'll just open that in a new tab. We'll go to the About Us page, and there you can see now that the animation is working. Great, so if I wanted to add more animation to the page, so let's go back to Oxygen, edit with Oxygen. What's really nice is, because it's now included in a plugin, can be applied anywhere on the website. we'll just add an animation to some other content on the page quickly. So here we have, these 4 elements. So in the first column here, I'm going to do the GS reveal, and we'll have this come in from the left. So from left, we'll do this one from the right. So let's do that. So GS reveal, GS from right, and these 2 elements, maybe we'll have them come in from the bottom. So then once again, GS reveal and GS reveal from bottom, and this one we'll do the same, GS reveal and from bottom, save. Right, let's go and have a look at that on the website, and you'll see when I refresh that, we have all the content scrolling into view really nicely. So yeah, lots happening on this page, maybe too much. If you're going to add animation, a good thing to do is to try and kind of keep it the same with all the elements so that it's easier for the eye to understand. So maybe scrolling in from the left and right each time is a little bit easier instead of from different positions. Right, well, that's how you can then include the GSAP library onto the website. If you want to have a look at some of the other things that you can do, the cheat sheet is a great place to have a look at. And then also, if you're on the docs page, if you want to get into some of the other animations available, as you can see, flips, motion paths, observer, pixie, scroll to, text. There's a whole lot of different things that you can do, and you can do it all from here. It's, yeah, really pretty easy to implement. Well, I hope you found that interesting and are able to implement on your website. Thank you for watching.